With Sam Carchidi from the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Flyers beat writer. There will be no playoffs again, and the Flyers have not won a playoff series since that 11-12 year, so changes could be coming. But, Sam, the word patience has been thrown out there so much that maybe that leads us to believe that don't get your expectations up too high if you want to see big-time changes with this team.
Yeah, I agree, Mike. I think, you have to be patient, and I think Hextall is doing it the right way. They have their farm system now is much better shape. People have to realize that it's in much better shape than when he took over. Yes, everybody's disappointed they didn't make the playoffs. Yes, everybody's disappointed they took a step back from last year, and I think most of the players took a step back. There are a couple of exceptions, but most of the guys, including Claude Giroux and Shane Gostisbehere, took a step back, and if they didn't, this team would be playing in the playoffs right now. But, sometimes you have to take a step back and take two steps forward. That they're hoping that's what happens. I was really impressed, though, with Robert Hagg. I know it was a meaningless game 82, but I thought he really accounted for himself really well. And I thought Sam Moran did a great job as well against New Jersey the previous week. So we'll probably see those two and maybe Travis Sanheim next year and maybe Oscar Lindblom, who has really done a great job in Europe, and he'll probably be maybe a top three in a top three line next year as a left winger. So you are going to see some changes, but I don't think you're going to see a superstar or even a star come here in free agency. If people are looking for that, I just don't see that happening.
Sam Carchidi with his Flyers finished with 88 points. That's 8 fewer than last season, 25-11-5 at home, but 14-22-5 on the road. And to your point, Sam, Jake Voracek was the leading scorer with 61 points. That's the fewest by a Flyers scoring leader since the 02-03 season when Jeremy Roenick had 59. But you know, Sam, how it works in this town, and the bells are ringing loudly from the people that are out there saying, well, get rid of Claude Giroux. How do you summarize that easy answer of why that's not that easy to do?
Yeah, well, Giroux's contract is almost unmovable. I mean, when you're making $8 million plus a year, and you're 29 years old, and let's face it, he's on the downside of his career. He's still an effective player. Is he a superstar? No. And with some of that because of the injuries that he was coming back from, probably. But that said, he's not the Claude Giroux who we saw when he was 26 and 27, and he was a top three guy in the league. To me, it's almost an unmovable contract, and I would be shocked if he was traded. To me, his year was kind of puzzling in a way, because I know he came out about 3 weeks ago and said that his hip had finally healed and he was finally able to get some jump in his game. But I thought he had a lot of jump early in the year, and when they had that 10-game winning streak. So I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. They're going to have some exit interviews with the coaches tomorrow and with the media. And I really like to clear that up. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, I finally get some jump late in the year, and yet early in the year he had some good jump. So now maybe he re-injured it, and he wasn't clear about that. Maybe after that winning streak, which ended in mid-December, maybe after that he re-aggravated the hip. But that I don't know. And but I'll take him at his word that that he was not 100% for most of the year. And in a way, that's a good sign, because maybe next year you'll see, him return to maybe a 70-point year. He only had 58 points and only 14 goals. And I think he had something like 3 or 4 goals in the last 45, 46 games. And yes, he got a lot of assists, but they needed him to score. And people complain that he doesn't score enough even-strength goals. Well, he didn't score much on the power play this year either. And their power play, to me, it sounds strange because that's what's really carried them, but the power play really struggled in the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season. If it hadn't, this team might be playing in the playoffs, but the power play and the penalty kill really went down in the last 5 weeks or so, and that was a killer.
Sam Carchidi from the Philadelphia Inquirer covering the Flyers, whose season is over. No playoffs this year. You mentioned Hagg and Moran and the fact that they've got a lot of young defenders and that they could replenish, and maybe be patient because they can call guys up. They don't have to go out and sign free agents. But do they have any offensive guys that will infiltrate this lineup next year within?
Yeah, Oscar Lindblom is the main guy, and I thought they picked up a guy who, to me, is definitely a top 9 guy, borderline top 6, and Jordan Wheel. I was pleasantly surprised. To me, he may have been the most pleasant surprise of the year. And people will say, well, how about Ivan Provorov? Who saw him being the number 1 defenseman so early? Well, I think a lot of people kind of expected that of him. Maybe not as soon. But to me, the biggest surprise and the most pleasant surprise was the play of Jordan Wheel. And he went to the dirty area. He's not a big guy. He's 5'10", 179. Just has a nose for the goal, nose for loose pucks in front. They don't have enough guys like that. In a way, he's like Danny Briere. I'm not saying he's going to be a Danny Briere player, but, I think he can be a legitimate 20, 25 goal scorer down the road. For that reason, I think they almost have to sign him before the expansion draft with Las Vegas. You don't want to expose him because he will be taken. And you don't even want to have him out there and have Las Vegas be able to negotiate with him. They have a 48-hour window to negotiate with unrestricted free agents, and he, of course, falls in that class. So I think that's going to be one of the first things that the Flyers manager does in the offseason is try to re-sign him. He said yesterday after the game that this is where he wants to play. The Flyers gave him, his first legitimate chance, and he respects that. And as a result, he wants to play here. So, all of a sudden you do have a couple of young guys with him and Konechny and Lindblom next year. So you probably have 3 real young guys as forwards, and you got to hope that the veterans bounce back because, like I said, I really don't see them going out and making a pitch for, a big-time free agent like a TJ Oshie, who had a career year at 33 goals, and he's going to be very expensive. I don't think the Flyers can afford him. If they could, he would be, a perfect fit for them because he played for Dave Hextall at North Dakota. He's a scorer and, a veteran, the team leader, and he's also good in shootouts, as everybody knows. So, but I wouldn't get my hopes up too high because he had too good of a year, and I just don't think the Flyers are going to have the money to fit him under the cap because he had such a good year. He's going to command a lot of money, and the Flyers, I don't think, will have that kind of dough.
Sam Carchidi with us talking Flyers hockey, and Wheel turns 25 on Saturday. One of those surprises that came out of the team, but yes, the word is out. The league knows who he is. They also know who Michael Neuvirth is. They know who Anthony Stolarz is, and they know Steve Mason. How do you see that goalie situation shaking itself out as that we continue to shake that 8 ball on the goalie, Sam, and it keeps coming back? Answer cloudy. Ask again later. Well, this is later.
Yeah, Pete, to me, that's one of the most interesting and intriguing stories of the off season. What do the Flyers do? Whom do they protect? That's the big question. I did a poll on Twitter for the Inquirer the other day, and I had 1,400 respondents. And I asked the question, who would you protect? Because right now they only have 2 goalies they can protect because Mason is a UFA, and they can't protect him. Of course, they did sign Michael Neuvirth last month, and so the question I asked is who would you protect between Michael Neuvirth and Stolarz? And 93% of about 1,400 respondents said they would protect Stolarz. I'm not so sure it's that clear cut, though. I'm not so sure that's going to happen. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. I'm not so sure that the Flyers don't have some kind of deal in place with Michael Neuvirth going to Vegas. George McPhee is the GM there. Of course, he had Michael Neuvirth. The goalie coach had Michael Neuvirth when they were in Washington. So you just wonder if there's been some kind of deal in place, or if maybe they also have a deal in place for them to pick Michael Neuvirth, and maybe they take somebody else. It's very intriguing. Like maybe they take a Matt Reed off their hand if you give them Michael Neuvirth, and then you get rid of Matt Reed's salary. There's a lot of things that could happen leading up to that expansion draft, and I think the Flyers will be right in the middle of it. And I'm anxious to see how it plays out. But if Michael Neuvirth does go, even if he doesn't go, some people think you do need another goalie, whether you go for a Ben Bishop or somebody else. It's going to be interesting. Keith Kincaid, if he could play every game against the Flyers, he'd be a Vezina Trophy candidate. He's from New Jersey. He's the backup in New Jersey. He's been lights out against the Flyers. He's a free agent. So, you're going to need a veteran. So the point is, if Michael Neuvirth does go to Vegas, You might bring a guy like Kincaid in and roll the dice with him and maybe say, hey, he's going to be the bridge to Carter Hart till Carter Hart is ready, or one of the other promising prospects. And Stolarz or Alex Line could be the backup next year. So there's no clear-cut answer. And I don't think Ron Hextall has figured it out yet. Either that, or he's just playing poker with the writers, because he says right now, everything is in flux right now, and they still have to work things out with their goalie situation. There's also a small chance they try to re-sign Mason. To me, Mason is the better goalie choice than Michael Neuvirth. He's steadier, and he's not as injury-prone as Michael Neuvirth. But if I'm reading between the lines correctly, I think Mason has probably played his last game with the Flyers, and I think he's going to move on in free agency.
Sam Carchidi. Sam, if there's a guy that intrigues you in free agency that you think will be linked, the Flyers are one of those teams that typically, their name is linked to a lot of the players, because in the past they had the ability to spend money and they have brought in higher profile free agents. Does that happen this year, or is there an under the radar guy that maybe stands out?
Well, I could be wrong, but to me, I think their free agent for next year, they've already signed. It's Valtteri Filppula. They brought him here knowing that they had to assume he's got a no trade contract, so they knew in advance that they're going to have to protect him because of that, protect him in the expansion draft. And actually, the story for the Mars Inquirer is actually online right now on Philly.com, and the numbers are pretty astounding. Since they picked him up, they were one of the worst teams in the league 5-on-5 before Filppula came here. Since then, they've been very, very good. The numbers. And again, you can look at them in the Philly.com story, are very, very impressive. They turned things around since he came, because he gives the lines more balance. Now, all of a sudden, you have three lines that are probably pretty equal. And his line has been, terrific. And, with Jordan Wheel and Simmons and, and it just allowed, it took some pressure off Couture. Couture, since Filppula's here, is now leading the NHL, or he led the NHL, I should say, in the last 21 games in plus-minus. And, I don't think he feels the pressure to be a scorer anymore. So it kind of balanced the other two lines out. Now you have three lines that are probably each as effective as the other. And to me, he's probably the free agent you got already. Again, I could be wrong. They could go out and make a play for somebody like Oshie or somebody else. But I look at the list, and there just aren't a lot of guys that are elite scorers, guys that you would say, hey, this is going to be a great upgrade. So for that reason, I think they're going to plug in the young guys and hope what we saw since Filppula was here since March 1st, hope that carries over into next season. If it does, they'll be, a borderline playoff team. But the good thing is the young guys will be developing, and I think the year after that, you're going to see them take a positive step, and then you can sign a big-name free agent the following season.
All right. Should be very interesting summer for Ron Hextall to see if he remains patient, or does he lose that patience. All signs pointing to patience being the virtue here. Sam Carchidi from the Philadelphia Inquirer. I know you'll have a lot of questions for Hexy and to see what's happening with this Flyers team in the offseason, and we'll catch up with you down the line, pal.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Pete. I really appreciate it.